She was in the bathtub for 8 days. 8 days by herself with her cat. Her cat was there with her, and not until neighbors and friends realized they hadn't seen or heard from her in a couple days, and they thought it was very odd, and she was not answering her phone calls. So they did a welfare check. They sent the police over, and they found her in her bathtub, severely dehydrated with bed sores because she'd been in the bathtub for 8 days. They were able to make sure the cat was safe also. They went to the hospital. She's being taken care of.
Hi everyone, I'm Lexie Callies. Do you feel the squeeze of caring for an elderly loved one and school-aged children? Then welcome to the Sandwich Stories. Let's dig in.
Hi everybody, it's Lexie Callies with Sandwich Stories. I hope you're having a really great week. It is 105 where I live here in Texas. That is not the heat index, that is the actual temperature. It is sweltering. And I know the rest of the country is very warm. I hope you're all staying safe. And that started making me think about a few things. I said it was 105 today. My son told me, he's like, oh yeah, because those people in Europe who were complaining about it so hot a couple weeks ago when it was 85 or 90. I was like, yes, I know. They're not used to the temperature. Yes, they were complaining. I would love for it to be 85 or 90 right now, but it is 105. That also made me think about back, I want to say in the 90s, there was a huge heat wave across France. And I know this because my mom's best friend lives outside of Paris. We were talking to her about it. And, but in August, what happens? In France, everybody goes on vacation. And I say not every single person goes on vacation, but most people go on vacation in the month of August. A lot of stores shut down. People aren't home, those kinds of things. So a lot of people went on vacation, leaving grandma and granddad in their homes without air conditioning during a heat wave of something in the 90s. There were people who passed away because of the heat. And then it made me think of a recent story of a woman. This does not have to do with heat, but I'll get to my point. She recently lived by herself. She's in her 80s. She fell in her bathroom. She was in the bathtub for 8 days. 8 days by herself with her cat. Her cat was there with her, and not until neighbors and friends realized they hadn't seen or heard from her in a couple days, and they thought it was very odd, and she was not answering her phone calls. So they did a welfare check. They sent the police over, and they found her in her bathtub, severely dehydrated with bed sores because she'd been in the bathtub for 8 days. They were able to make sure the cat was safe also. They went to the hospital. She's being taken care of. But that makes me think about here in Texas when it's 105, we need to check on our neighbors. We need to make sure everybody's okay. My grandmother lived in her house by herself. My grandfather passed away in 1982. She lived in that house from 1982 until, she passed away in 2013, and about 4 years before that, 2009, 2010-ish, somewhere around there. That's when we moved to assisted living. But between 1982 and about 2009, she lived in the house by herself. She was an independent woman, never got remarried. She lived there and did everything herself. Which meant, if you know, outside of Chicago, there is snow. And she was going to go shovel her walk and shovel the driveway and shovel the sidewalk, because that's what you do when it snows in Chicago. And she's out there, not in the proper footwear. She did not have snow boots on. She had like little Oxfords on, her coat and her scarf. And luckily a neighbor down the way saw her trying to do this and stopped her and said, please go back inside. I will take care of this. And from that point on, he always shoveled the snow. If my uncle hadn't done it, then he would do it. And, she could have she could have slipped and fall. She could have had a heart attack. Who knows what could have happened to her? She could have been outside too long and without the proper gloves, or if, her feet were not properly warm, she could have gotten frostbite. And it's just not safe. But luckily, the neighbor down the street checked on her and made sure she was okay, and also made sure she was safe moving forward. And this is what we need to do with our neighbors. We need to say, are they okay? It is 105 here. Is their air conditioning working? Does the power on? Is the water working? These kinds of things could happen to the elderly and you don't know. And so you need to go over and say, hi, I just wanted to check on you, make sure everything's okay, especially if you're used to seeing them in a certain way. Like if you're used to seeing them out getting the mail every day, or they garden, you see them in the garden, those kinds of things, and you don't see them after a couple days and you think, I haven't seen so-and-so and I don't think they're on vacation. Go knock on their door. Make sure they're okay. Make sure they don't need help. Make sure you can hear the AC running, and maybe the AC fan is running, but it's not cooling properly. And then it could be 90 degrees inside that person's house, and still that's not safe for them either. Now, if you go to their door and they don't answer, and you call the phone number you have and they don't answer, and you don't have another number to call to double check, then you can call the police for a welfare check. Then they can go knock on the door. They'll send some police out. They'll make sure they knock on the door, go around the property, legally look through the windows, try to enter the house, make sure that everything's okay. Because God forbid that they've fallen or fainted or something. Or, like I said, it's 90 degrees in the house because the air conditioner is not working. They're not able to use the bathroom or get cold water because something is wrong with the plumbing. There's all sorts of things. In the wintertime, the heat's not working. Maybe like where we live, that's run by gas. So if there's something wrong with the gas, they're not going to have heat. They're not going to have hot water. So all of these things, like I said, we need to check on our neighbors. We need to make sure they're safe. It doesn't take much. I know I would feel horrible if I knew something had happened to a neighbor and it's because I didn't go knock on the door. Now, I know many people will say, it's okay. You shouldn't feel bad for that. That's not your job. But it is my job in my mind, because that's what good neighbors do. That's what good citizens do. We check on our friends and family. And even if they are the grumpy old neighbor, you still go knock on their door and make sure they're okay. So with that said, song of the week is Thank You for Being a Friend. Now, most people know this song from the Golden Girls. Yes, it is the theme song from the Golden Girls, but it was not originally written for the Golden Girls. It was originally written by Andrew Gold in 1978. It's a really great song. His version of it, I really like. I just like a different version than the one we hear all the time, which is actually sung by a jingle singer. The woman who sings it on the Golden Girls theme, that woman actually made all of her money doing jingles, like commercials and things like that. Andrew Gold wrote it, sung it himself with his band. He had backup singers. It's really great. Like I said, 1978, Thank You for Being a Friend by Andrew Gold. I hope you all have a really great week. I hope you all stay cool and safe, and go check on your neighbors, okay? I love you guys. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to Sandwich Stories. I really hope you learned some new things and enjoyed it. If you did, tell a friend, tell your mom, tell your sister, tell your dad, tell everybody you know to also listen. Maybe they'll learn some new things, how to help each other out. And find us at Sandwich Stories Podcast. Thanks so much.